marketing teams spend hours and hours analyzing marketing data, building marketing attribution reports, building all kinds of reporting around the marketing data, as well as collecting that data. But what if you could have an AI analyst doing most of this work for you? In this video, I'll demonstrate how to build an AI marketing analyst using Claude with its MCP capabilities to get the data to the agents. And we'll use Claude to generate marketing insights and marketing attribution reports on demand. So the way it would work is, instead of navigating different marketing dashboards, AI agent would pull the data from a customer data platform. So you might have different queries like which campaigns generated most revenue last month, or explain the drop in conversions last week. And the way it would work, instead of you going to a dashboard and trying to find an explanation for the data, you would put a prompt inside Claude or any other AI platform of your choice, like ChatGPT. So most of those AI platforms support the agentic kind of retrieval that we'll be demonstrating today with Claude. And so what happens? We put a prompt into Claude. Claude converts that into queries that are understood by the MCP that actually pulls out the data. So Claude does not process the data directly. Operates with database on language the database understands. And then Claude returns a written marketing report, providing an explanation and an answer to the question that was asked. This was a fairly simple example, but it already starts to show the power of using AI as a marketing analyst, essentially, because the traditional process of getting that type of queries, and obviously we've tried a very simple one yet, but we'll try much more complex ones as we go forward. And the traditional way to get the data would have been to get an analyst to write reports, or like SQL reports in a BI tool like Looker Studio, or maybe configure custom dashboards in Amplitude, in Hockey Stack, and all of the different sort of complicated platforms that had a built-in reports that needed to be configurable. So obviously there's always been kind of a bottlenecked bit, because both approaches are somewhat limited by the capabilities of the platforms that they operated on. And like, I think we all remember what happened, for example, when Google changed how Google Analytics operates entirely, reducing conversion window when they went from Universal Analytics to GA4, and doing a massive amount of other changes that basically broke people's reporting. And the other thing that happens with that approach is, very often you would have you would encounter the kinds of data that are not easily accessible to the reporting tool that you're using. So in practice, what a lot of agencies and advertisers end up doing is having to sort of semi-manual process to combine the data from different sources and maybe build a proper comprehensive monthly report. Whereas the capabilities of the AI as such is that even if you find that the certain MCP is missing some of the data that you need, maybe for example, Able CDP's MCP doesn't provide spending data directly, but you could use another MCP to pull the data from Meta or from Google Ads and then have an ROI report instead of just revenue report, for example. So it's very automatable. It's very unbounded in terms of what this architecture can achieve. Let's try examples that are more complex. So we're not just looking at a basic queries you can get from anywhere, but different examples where it tries to combine data in more meaningful ways. For example, let's say you want to understand where the users are dropping off before converting. So let's ask just that. we can see an example how this query gets converted into the details. So first, Claude interprets the query to understand, what in this example what the funnel is, consists of, and then tries to make a sense of stages, doing different requests, and analyzing sort of what the funnel looks like and how people proceeded. And so it goes on and produces the breakdown showing how different visitors converted into leads and purchasers. One thing it notices, which again is a characteristic of demo data used for this demo, is that quite a few of the completed purchases have been attributed throughout the conversion path, but haven't had a lead event, which means it knows that lead event isn't a required part of this funnel. And maybe we could make it slightly different. So segment by source, for example, or segment by campaign. And again, like the important part of using an MCP, that instead of just making a guess as you would think, or working from the available details, it now knows what which stages are in the funnel, so it can produce a request to an MCP explaining how the data should be grouped, how the events should be aggregated, which columns should be which fields are expected to be returned, and how the data should be processed. So it always processes that source by source that we could analyze. It not just produces the data, calculating that on demand, but it also came with a takeaway in this example, identifying an optimization opportunity that the Facebook's and Twitter traffic wasn't converting to leads as well as other traffic, which is what you would expect to happen in real life funnels as well. Claude suggests to look at different landing pages and compare performance per landing page, which makes sense. Let's try to do that as well. And in the resulting data, we can see there's been been broken down by different landing pages, each showing how many page views have happened, how many leads have been captured, how many purchases have occurred, and this is calculated for different pages, and then used. We could obviously analyze this manually, but Claude went one step further and analyzed it for us. So it identified that some of the landing pages have performed comparatively poorer, saying they get significant traffic but lose a lot of visitors without converting. And on the contrary, the another landing page has been identified where most of the visitors, most of the traffic actually becomes leads and becomes useful for the as a source of leads. However, it also notices that they're not really converting to paying customers. And separately, it identified which page is generating revenue. So this is really something that you would previously expect to spend hours looking at data and trying to make sense of what patterns are there, whether here's just done in seconds using an MCP. Let's do the next step and follow the suggestion that Claude has to put this into report or spreadsheets. Let's find out what can it actually do. So what happens now is actually very interesting, because instead of just getting a response, Claude started to do what it can do very well. It started to write code. So the way it works currently in Claude, like Claude Code or Claude Desktop, Claude Cowork, is it has access to an environment where it can execute the code. So instead of creating a text that may be formatted later, it writes, breaks it down into different items, how it would progress step by step to get the result done, and then writes a script to generate the report using all the information that will be needed. It uses all different things we've asked to structure a report around what we are interested to know, and it explained what's included, and it basically got all that different different types of attribution, different types of conversion reporting into a single report, providing comprehensive view of everything that happened here. So we have performance by campaign using different attribution models, so that identifies kind of which campaigns work as early funnel campaigns and which work as late funnel campaigns to generate assisted conversions, which it mentions here. Then there's different kinds of funnel analysis, like how customers progress through funnel, how different traffic sources perform, how different landing pages perform, which are good, which are good for leads, which are good for conversions to paying customers, which are good for revenue. And then it goes one step further and identifies possible areas for improvement. One other thing we haven't really spoke about is how this can be used to automate. So Claude recently introduced scheduling capabilities. So instead of doing this each time hand by hand, it's possible to create a task to schedule this, for example, to be done weekly or monthly. And the report will be automatically created on schedule. It can be saved in any folder on your computer, or it can be automatically emailed if you use one of the available connectors with an email. And the very last thing I want to talk about today is how to set it up. So we've used two components. We used an Able CDP's MCP server to get the data to Claude, and we used Claude to process the data. So setting up Able CDP is fairly straightforward. So you would go to Able CDP website, click Start Now button here, and just enter URL of your website. It then automatically goes in, recognizes what marketing stack you use, and you can just then enter your email and it instantly gets you into your account. Once you're in, 2 steps remain. So go to the Get Code tab and get the tracking code. Depending on what kind of marketing website you use, that would be two pathways. So if it's like a regular CMS with WordPress or Webflow with the lead forms and kind of more traditional funnel, you would probably need to add a few sample page URLs that do have the lead forms. Here, let's recognize it, press generate button, and then just copy to your website so that the tracking code is there and it starts recording the sources of your traffic and associates them with the customer emails or customer phones as they go forward. If it's more like a web application where you have a custom application where people sign up and they go on to use the application, then you would need to modify the application slightly just to trigger the small tracking code to essentially identify each user or identify each sign up. So this should be fairly straightforward. There are instructions for both traditional applications that might use HTML, in which case you just need to add this code there and change the template to replace an email with an email. And for more modern applications like using Next.js, React.js, Vue.js, there's a detailed tracking guide on Able's website explaining how to prevent basically various things that happen in single page applications from breaking your tracking. So how to ensure that code runs each time, and always works and gets you sources of all your signups. Once you have tracking set up, the next step would be to connect sources of the actual conversions, like your CRM system or e-commerce platform or a Stripe or Chargebee and other payments platform. To do so, open the main page, the funnel page of Able Dashboard, press Add Service Integration, select the platform you're using. So Able supports a lot of them straight out of the box, and just follow the instructions to connect and to send the payment data there. Then, once you have data being populated and Able, the next step is to connect Claude and explain Claude how to use Able to get its tracking data. There's a section in the docs on Able CDP website called the MCP server for marketing attribution. I'll link it in the description. And it explains how to set up. So if you just scroll down here, it has connecting with Claude and explains step by step how to add a custom connector with Claude. So the process is very straightforward. You would need to copy the URL of the MCP server that Claude will be using. Go into settings, and it keeps moved slightly. So currently, at the time of this video being recorded, this is in connectors, and you would click Add Custom Connector. Call it Able CDP MCP. Paste the MCP server. Advanced settings. Nothing else needed to be entered, so Claude would automatically connect, automatically recognize how authentication there works. And this is it. Once you've added it, just make sure it's enabled for in the list of connectors when you ask any question, and ask it to get the data you need, and it will just do it in seconds. I hope this was useful, and I think it's a very interesting example how we're moving towards the world where AI increasingly has more and more access to the data and more capacities to analyze that data. With the marketing reporting, specifically marketing analytics, I think it's quite interesting how marketing analysts don't have to build reports anymore, don't have to configure dashboards, don't have to build various pipelines, various data processing pipeline, because again, the agents can just pull that information either from a single MCP or while we haven't really discussed in this video, but they can also combine programmatically data from different MCPs. For example, if you need like cost data or something else from somewhere else, they can do it for you as well and just extend that information with the costs. So it looks like we're in a world where dashboards just becoming increasingly irrelevant for anything but the most simple reporting. And as a business owner or as a marketer who wants to understand and who wants to have reliable analytics data, the AI agents is really the way to go now. If you're interested in building AI agents for marketing automation, marketing analytics automation, I'll post the link to the MCP that was used in the demo in the description. And if you're interested in marketing attribution overall, in sort of server-side attribution, technical side of marketing attribution, and getting the reliable data to art platforms, subscribe to this channel and watch more videos.